Hei, minä olen Josefina Tuomala ja toimin tänään lavajuontajanaanne. Seuraavaksi täällä alkaa pienen näyttämön torstain toiseksi viimeinen ohjelmanumero, jonka teille tarjoaa sosiaali- ja terveysministeriö. Kaikki ohjelmasisällöt live-striimataan ja suomenkielinen sisältö tulkataan englanniksi. Seuraavan ohjelman kieli tulee olemaan englanti, joten jatkan myös juonon loppuun englannin kielellä. Good morning and welcome to the little stage. All programs are live streamed and Finnish programs are simultaneously interpreted into English. The chat is open. If you want to participate in the discussion, there is a QR code on the screen that will take you straight to the chat. Next up, we will hear a discussion about Finland's success now and in the future, solutions from RDI. The discussion will explore the potential of research, development and innovation in responding to global challenges such as an aging population and public finances. The discussion is brought to you by the Ministry of Social Affairs and Health. Welcome everyone.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, both here in Turku and also those following the stream. On my behalf, I'm very excited to host this panel with very distinguished and experienced guests. We have Eric Sutherland from OECD, who has done something real in the field of data and health, first in Canada, and now tries to expand his kind of experiences and knowledges for all industrialized countries as an economist specializing in this field in OECD. And then we have Maija Lönnqvist, who is heading the unit of Innovation Policy, director of that unit at the Ministry of Economic Policy and Employment. It's a very topical agenda we have today because it combines two very, very fundamental and crucial approaches to our kind of a major challenges of both the Finnish society and also European societies, even globally. The first one is research and innovation, and the second is the future of healthcare. Let me start this panel discussion with a few thoughts on where we stand in both these issues. From the innovation policy perspective, Finland hasn't seen much growth for almost 2 decades. So the main reasons are clear and already discussed here today are that productivity hasn't increased, and also the working age population already in Finland is shrinking. So the both main factors are going not in the direction we would like to see them to go. We are not alone in this. This is an issue in most Western societies. So the productivity has not grown much since the financial crisis, and also the population is aging in all developed nations. But Finland is an extreme case in this, and there are, of course, reasons for that. Now the strategic policy decisions have been clear for Finland. We believe that research and development is key to a better future. But as Sitra, which I'm proud to be president of, published on Tuesday the results of the study we published on Tuesday, money is not enough. It's not enough just to spend more money. It's also a question how this money is spent, and also what other actions are needed to get more out of these investments we are ready to make as a society, and hopefully our businesses also are willing to contribute to. The other crucial issue then is how we can build a sustainable and future-proof health system. Finland has introduced a major reform to its healthcare system. We hoped it would make the system more efficient and improve access to services while maintaining good quality care. But now we are seeing unexpected high additional costs, which is unsustainable. The state just doesn't have enough money to cover an ever-increasing bill. This week's news tells the same story again. Something fundamental has to change. The system as it is isn't working. Should we invest more in understanding how to cure health problems, or should we focus more on preventing them so that the curing doesn't cost as much? Is preventing health problems the responsibility of the healthcare system, or does it need a holistic and cross-sectional approach? Better life, better health, with the help of a better society, for example. We need resilience, cooperation between different actors, sustainable and fair growth, and innovation to address these challenges. With better use of technologies and data, we need innovation at the level of services and strategic activities at the state level. We already know the recipe. Innovation in health and social services need to be based on AI, data, overall digitalization. But these are the only means available to help us meet the serious challenge of costs and access to care. Finland is a data-rich country, and we've supported the use of health data with pioneering legislation. The healthcare system itself is also quite well digitalized, so the overall starting points for innovation are rather good. But despite these good starting points, we don't see yet the rapid utilization of the resources we've developed. This is a serious next stage challenge. What we need is a kickstart of social and health services innovation all over our country. How to push this forward urgently on a wide scale is the key. However, the opportunities are there and just need to be faced. By the way, if we do all this well, it can also generate additional benefits. Businesses in these fields can prosper since we need them as our RD&I partners. Healthcare renewal is a global challenge, so any skills, knowledge, innovation generated in Finland can be scaled up as new business elsewhere. Not forgetting in this discussion that we are, as humans, we are part of nature in relation with each other. So we are not machines, and the machines are not the ones humans want to be in interaction endlessly. With these opening words, I'd like to first give the floor to Maija to give kind of perhaps a overall view on the future of our RD&I policies, and then after that, I invite Erik to really push us forward in our thinking of how AI and data can be used as a solution for these problems. But Maija, please.
Thank you, Atte, and good afternoon on my behalf as well. It's nice to be here in Turku as usual. It's always sunny and nice. I promise to give a short overview of what's happening in Finland in R&D policy field at this moment. As you know, in the 90s, Finland raised from economic depression with the help of R&D. And even in the early 2000s, we were admired for our investments to R&D. But then something happened, and our investments started to decrease, falling steadily from almost 4% of GDP to clearly under 3%. And simultaneously, we lost the productivity growth, which has been very slow for the last 16 years. But we should not look back, we should look forward. We all know that we need R&D to facilitate sustainable growth, to strengthen competitiveness, and to ensure productivity growth. As a small open economy, Finland can only succeed through knowledge and innovation. And this was also recognized by our political leaders. In 2017 was the first step when the Finnish Research and Innovation Council set an ambitious target to raise the R&D investments up to level of 4% of GDP by 2030. This was adopted also by the previous government in their governmental program. And they also established a parliamentary working group to plan how to reach this 4% target by 2030. In the end of 2021, there was a parliamentary consensus by all the parties to agree on this target of 4% of GDP for R&D investments by 2030. And for this, it was parliamentary agreed that also the state will invest state R&D funding growing steadily until 2030. And also our current government is very committed to invest in R&D. And so the state R&D funding is increasing 280 million euros per year by 2030. And in total, this will mean an increase of 2 billion euros by 2030. So really remarkable investments, as you can see. But the increase in R&D cannot only be achieved by the state only or by the government investing. So it is expected that when the state commits itself to invest heavily, also the private sector is facilitated to invest even more. And it is expected that the private sector invests 2/3 of this target of 4%, which means over 4 billion new R&D investments by the next 6 years. But how then facilitate the private sector to invest? These have been discussed heavily during the last year or last 2 years. And as a result, the government gave a multi-annual plan for using the state R&D so that we can facilitate also the private sector to invest. The plan stresses the government's commitment and it sets up the priorities with which to hope we encourage the business sector as well to invest. These 6 priorities where we are going to invest increasing public R&D will be the following. First, the ambitious collaboration between industry and academia, aiming for radical new inventions and ideas. Collaboration between industry and academia has long been the strength of Finland, but it has been decreasing in the last decade, and we have to gain this strength again. Direct company funding to the most innovative companies is the second priority. We are investing to companies who are willing to grow, who are willing to be the most innovative companies. And the third priority is the talent building, both through top-level basic research, but also through investing to research careers. And fourthly, the high-quality and internationally interesting research and technology infrastructures that also facilitate the collaboration both in Finland but also with our international partners. And as well, the fifth, the active and ambitious collaboration both in EU and internationally. We cannot do R&D only here in our little island here in the corner of Europe. We also need our partners all around the world. And sixth, the strategic theme established by the Research and Innovation Council. So this is our plan for the investing for R&D, the state funding, and now we expect the companies to answer. Of course, only these investments to R&D are not enough. It's not only money we are talking, we also need an operating environment that facilitates that all the R&D results turn into innovations, turn into new scalable businesses. And for this, we need also access to venture capital funding, investments to piloting, demonstrations, capabilities to protect and utilize IPR, vivid startup scheme, and so on. One step to facilitate these is our industrial policy strategy that is under preparation in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment. And of course, there are many more actions as well. So this is the general background, what is happening in Finland in R&D policy. The increase in R&D investments, as well as other actions, are of utmost importance for one particular sector, the healthcare, which is our theme today. And I think we will go further, more deeper in this theme in the discussion in the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Maija. Before I give the floor to Erik, one thought that actually was mentioned this morning in the discussion here, that Europe typically has big problems in bringing the research results into from applied research to commercialization. But there's an exception, which is health and medicine. So is there something in your mind that makes investing in R&D in the field of health kind of more attractive, taking into account that your KPI is not just to spend the money, but also to get the societal results we are expecting, make life better?
I suppose we have quite good market opportunities in the health sector. So I think the way from the research and development to innovation is already built up, and we can also use our new well-being counties to buy services, buy technology, buy new solutions to solve the problems, find new ways to operate through new technologies, new inventions that are done by the small companies, by startups. And I think that's a great like the first run of market in the health sector.
Being a startup in the field where you have a 30 billion euro home market is quite an opportunity. Erik, how to make it successfully?
So thank you, and thank you for inviting me here. I'm thrilled. First time I've actually ever been in Turku. It is absolutely beautiful. Had a nice walk up the Aura this morning, and I look forward to doing so again many more times in the future. The themes that I really wanted to bring to this session today is where I have been, frankly, deeply inspired by Finland. I'm on my second career, as many people are, and in the last 7 years where I have been focusing on health, I've actually been inspired in 4 different ways by what is happening in Finland. So I'm hoping by reiterating it back to you, we can remind yourselves of the fantastic things you have done, but also remind you that this is an opportunity for you to help share some of these innovations you've done with the rest of the world, as the rest of the world is trying to learn how to move things forward. So the first story was back in 2017 when I was talking about the rollout of personal health records in Finland. And there was a challenge of getting doctors and nurses to actually use personal health records. And I was told the story about how a patient went into a doctor's office, and the patient, upon the doctor starting the conversation, tell me about what drugs, tell me about your medical history, the patient said, "Stop. Why are you wasting my time? My information, all that information is in my personal health record. Use the technology that people have invested in." So with that, Finland was able to leverage the public to actually help facilitate a broad-based change in the health system, which is, I think, one of the major things. We do not respect and use the public enough when we actually want to make the meaningful types of changes we have to make. That was step 1. Step 2 is where, I think it was around 2020, maybe it was 2019, Finland decided that it was going to really focus on artificial intelligence, and it developed this program called Elements of AI. The objective, stated, was to train 1% of Finnish people to be data scientists. I saw through that. I said, you're not really going to create 1% of people to be data scientists, but what you are going to do is you're going to demystify what artificial intelligence is about. Because if you get 1% of the population to do it, to do this course, then everybody is likely to have taken the course themselves or know somebody who has taken the course. And so you respected the public, you respected health providers, you respected industry, that here is knowledge that is important for you because this is where the world is going. And what you did is you demystified AI wasn't magic, it was math. And in fact, in the Elements of AI program, the major use case that was brought through in the course was around breast cancer. So it was actually a health use case. But nevertheless, the idea was, how do you actually give the information, the education in a respectful way to all the people who are impacted to actually help them want to come along on the change themselves? And that's a really important point. The third thing that I really like about Finland is that, and this admittedly, it ties a bit to what you were talking about before, Atta, that the having a long-term view. I believe, again, it was about 2019 when the Nordic Council got together and created their Nordic Vision for Nordic Health 2030. And the key headline item in that strategy was investing half of budget on prevention. So shifting from a health care and treatment focus to actually shifting focus toward prevention. Recognizing that if you actually can invest in prevention, you will actually lower the long-term costs of the health system. The challenge of that approach is, how do you transition from the current state to the future state? But the thing that I really appreciated about the vision that Finland had in that work is really saying, this is what we have to do for the next generation. Let's make the investments. Let's work out, how do we get from here to there? Now, it is not lost to me that the timing of that Nordic Health work was 2019. A little thing happened in early 2020, which caused some challenges along the way. But nevertheless, I think that vision about how to actually transition to that preventative focus is actually where the world needs to go. So again, this is an area where Finland has a significant asset, vision, long-term focus, having the willingness to actually focus in the long term while you're actually achieving objectives in the short term. And then the fourth area where I really respect what Finland is doing, this actually came out of work that the OECD did back in 2022. And actually, if you even go before that, in 2016, the OECD recognized the importance of health data and ensuring the quality of health data, the timeliness of that data, in order to and leverage that data to improve health outcomes. The world is massively failing at actually using health data. 30% of the world's data assets are health. Health uses 3% of the data that it has. So if you do the math, 29% of the world's data assets are unused for decision-making. That is a massive opportunity and a place where there is significant need to actually use that data to improve health outcomes for people. Now, from a Finnish perspective, so in that report where we talked about and we've reviewed where countries were at with respect to health data governance, the conclusion that we came up with is that countries are, quote, data rich and information poor. Meaning that, yes, you have tons of data, but you're not using it to generate meaningful insights. Has it meaningfully improved in the last few years? Is made some progress. When we actually surveyed countries, though, I will say Finland, along with Denmark, was in the upper right corner of the graph in terms of one of the most advanced countries in the world. around its data governance and data use. So the foundation that Finland has around its policies and its data assets are among the best in the world. So if you think of these various ingredients and think of them together, there is an opportunity to leverage the social license of the public because they want to do this change. There is respect for the public and providers to actually educate them on the things that are most important, to actually bring them along in the journey. There is a long-term view, recognition of short-term objectives are necessary, but you have a long-term view, and you have access to this massive infrastructure of data, of technology, and of policies that can actually unlock things significantly. So, partly what I'm doing here is simply to remind you of what you already have. But it really begets that you guys have so many of the great ingredients. What you don't have, in my opinion, is how do you bring them together as networks? The challenge that many, many countries are facing today is that they are focused on analog. How do I do things the way I've always been doing things in the 20 years? I have paper, I'm going to digitize my process, but it really is a paper process, just with PDF files. How do we actually rethink our infrastructures, our trusted relationships across organizations, across regions, across nations, and with international partners that actually leverage each other's capabilities, respects what each other brings to the table, protects things in common ways, in ways that the public actually expects and needs. So we don't assume what the public wants, we ask the public what they want. And then we actually deliver against that, and we deliver it in spades. So how can we shift our current analog way of thinking to this network way of thinking, wherein we're working with each other, we're leveraging each other's capabilities, moving toward a common vision, supporting each other through strong cooperation and collaboration. The term that I coined, I'm certain somebody else has coined this, but I've been using this a lot recently, has been fostering a culture of co-opetition, which is to say, collaborate and cooperate on the things that are foundational, which in the span of innovation in Finland are your data, your policies, your technical infrastructure. That's all basic stuff that you want to make sure is easily available for people to use. You compete on your ability to use those assets that are actually generally available. And so how do you actually create that environment of co-opetition in this network capability? Because if you do co-opetition in a network, then you create exponential growth. And with exponential growth, that's actually how you get to a point of addressing the long-term issues of inflation and stagflation that you're struggling with.
Thank you, Eric. Let's move into the discussion, and I hope that the personal can perhaps show you how you can also post the questions on the slido.com, but also you can raise hands. But let me start the discussion. We have 18 minutes left from our table by asking Eric. In Finland, we have a central storage of data which is mostly used for research, and then we have lots of data in our operational systems. What is the where is the most value? Is it in predicting the single patient's future health problems, or is it in this kind of a nationwide and population-wide data storage from which researchers can find the solutions for the thing? Or are these different things?
Well,
keep it short that we can keep it conversational.
Yeah. So I wanted to say yes, as in both.
Yeah.
I do think that historically many countries have done this, where they've built up their data and technical infrastructure around primary care data use for individual care purposes, patient portals and the like, and then separately they built up infrastructure around research. I honestly do not understand why those two things are different. Simply put, like in where we want to get, if we move towards a learning health system where we continuously learn from each other, then you want the research in the population side of things to have as fast information as they can about what's happening in primary care. So moving together the ideas of primary care data and research data is just data. That's actually an example of competition that's actually not helpful. Cooperation would say bring those two things together and actually make them available for both the purposes of primary care and the purposes of research and population health. The other thing I would say, though, as much as there is value in obviously providing better care for individuals, one of the things that I think is undervalued is using the data at a population level, but actually at just a health system level. If you think of your data scientists, they understand the processes that are happening by the bedside, et cetera, those people can actually find ways of saving an hour per doctor per encounter. And if you think of what is the benefit, I'm not even going to make it simpler than that. They are saving 1 minute per encounter. And if you think of what the benefit of the number of minutes per encounter that one innovation would save, it's massive. That would be millions of minutes, which is, I'd say, 500 doctors, 500 nurses, et cetera. So how can we act? But you only achieve that benefit if you're able to generate the 1 minute of saving value, the productivity gain, and then you're able to scale it across your network. So the challenge that we have is when when your network is fragmented, you have your innovation, but you can't spread it. So its value is muted. So a network allows you to spread the innovation and the productivity gains that you get.
We have already seen the massive impacts of filling the minutes with other work than patient work. So perhaps we have to reverse that trend. Yes. But Maija, having researchers monitoring real-time data coming from real patients doesn't sound like publishing research papers in 5 years' time and then perhaps bringing that to the changes in the healthcare system in the next 10 years. Do you have measures to incentivize our best brains to bring the results immediately to the system? And is our innovation system fit for that? That actually we can bring results almost immediately with data and using the real data from real patients real time?
Well, I suppose we have to develop also our new ways to measure what we achieve with the innovations or research and development. If we want to measure the publications, then that doesn't work. But if we measure new innovation, how much time it saves in public health sector, then it works. So I think we need to measure new things because nowadays we are measuring publications, we are measuring patents, but we are not actually measuring so much these societal benefits.
And I guess not only measure, but also incentivize, meaning that there is money behind the numbers. I think that's also a question that has been widely debated around the problems of our healthcare system now, is there an incentive to do things better? And where are these incentives targeted? Is it to take care of more patients, or is it to create health? And I think Erik is eager to take this point.
Well, yes. Actually, I wanted to build on the last one. And just to show Finland is not alone. We actually did a survey, which we're working on right now, so hasn't been published yet, where we scanned, I think, 40 or 50 national approaches to measuring digitalization in the health system itself. 60% of the metrics were measuring the readiness of the health system to use digital tools and technologies. 40% of the metrics were measuring the usage of digital tools and technologies. Only about 1 or 2% were measuring the actual impacts and the outcomes thereof. So you're not alone, but this is where one of the areas where I think that we collectively across many, many countries need to come together to say, well, what is the intended outcomes that are supposed to come from this whole digitalization journey? Because we're putting in billions of euros, and yet we're not, if we're not even measuring the outcomes, then we're definitely never going to see the outcomes. So let's understand what outcomes we want to achieve, and let's start measuring what those outcomes are. And part of that, and then when you measure the outcomes, then you can tie your incentives to those measures.
Well, the classical approach to renewal is the Schumpeterian creative destruction, but it works better in business where businesses can die. We can't destroy the healthcare system without having a new one on place. So I think this change has very much to do with the kind of operation culture and the kind of identities of the profession. Do you have any ideas how this fast change into a completely new model, meaning, for example, loss of resources to prevention instead of care and using data instead of some other measures, how can this be kind of fastened?
So the first thing that pops into my mind, possibly the only thing that immediately pops into my mind at least, is bringing the health professionals along in the journey. Even when we go to a world where we're going to be using AI, artificial intelligence, significantly more than we are right now, health providers are always going to be that interface between the public and the health system. Respecting the health providers, but they're the ones who really will change the system from the inside. So bringing them along on the journey to get them to not just want the change, but understand what their role is in making that transition in a way that is safe, but also productive at the same time. So I think investing in those types of change champions that can actually bring the change and make the change actually stick, that's one of the major things. There was a study that came out many years ago that talked about the stages you have to go through from availability of an innovation through propagation of innovation, use of innovation, and then productive use of an innovation. You go through 4 stages. So the time from when your innovation is created to when it's generating value, there is a massive gap of time. And that time is only shrunk if you really get buy-in from the health providers who are using the tools.
Yeah, and I guess also believing that in the identity of these professionals is this kind of a willingness to do good for the patients, and kind of in that sense, I have the feeling that sometimes they feel frustrated with all the obligations of doing procedures that are not as productive as they would like to see.
Because we haven't explained to them why those new procedures actually contribute to good.
Yeah.
And so it's respecting them, but bringing them along on the journey.
Okay. Maija, I will go back and, of course, promoting Citra's research published on Tuesday, this point that money is not enough. We need also changes in our innovation system. Well, we can't say solve all the issues in the 8 minutes we have left, but let's focus on now this idea of bringing new innovations fast to the market. Is there any kind of possibilities by the authority, by the state, by the ministries to create an environment in which the innovators, the companies can bring the new solutions and scale them fast for the Finnish market? Remembering that the health well-being counties are eager to take measures if there is something with which they can save money. And you can innovate now if you want.
I'm trying to innovate, yeah. Well, I think one of the most important here is the collaboration, because we have new solutions in the companies who need to get them into the market, and here the collaboration with the well-being counties is one, using more actively innovative procurement and procurement in general to create a market, to try new solutions created by companies.
Should we have some kind of centralized buying unit which is also investing in kind of purchasing in a way that kind of promotes innovations?
I don't know about centralized, because I suppose all the counties have their own.
She's working for the ministry.
I am working for the ministry, have their own needs. But we already have had centralized advisory systems for innovative procurement. So exchanging good practices, exchanging good ways to procure is a way. And here the collaboration between the countries is again very important. But also we need the collaboration between the companies and the universities and research centers in order to find the research results and facilitate their transformation into innovations and new solutions. And I think here we lack something, which is that we have these great new solutions in the universities and we have companies, but there is a gap.
I have this feeling that we have these 22 units that are buying their systems and of course building on the legacy they have, for example, in IT. It would be kind of a low-hanging fruit to kind of collaborate more in all these processes and kind of joining forces.
Yeah.
Because as Eric said, we need to scale, and I buy this idea that well, of course you have to start somewhere, but this issue is at least nationwide. It's actually a global thing. So actually, the solutions that are the best of the breed should be scaled as fast as possible. Or did I understand correctly?
No, you just understood that perfectly. And what occurred to me as you guys were talking, and this is what many countries do, while they don't necessarily centralize procurement, but what they do centralize is certification.
Yeah.
So that way they can actually look at applications and apps to say, this thing has been qualified that it meets our security needs, our privacy needs, our basic needs across all of the various policies of government. And then you've got the stamp. Now it's up to you to sell yourself to whomever is going to purchase you. But the purchaser doesn't need to qualify them anymore. They've been centrally qualified.
Yeah. But then another issue is, of course, that if we want to move towards prevention and people being kind of more well, then of course it's not only the issue that is the responsibility of the healthcare system, because they are schools, there are our sports activities, there is our cultural life, the whole of the society. Are our societies fit for these kind of challenges? Are we able to kind of bring these issues to the level needed to address these issues? Does the government have an official policy on that?
To force people to move and eat healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we are building on that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. Soon we will move to the responsibility of individuals, but Eric.
There have been studies that have shown that only 20% of a person's health outcomes are achieved by the health system. 80% of a person's health is determined by non-health activities. And so that implies that, in fact, I actually just published a paper Tuesday myself, talking about the digital determinants of health in terms of where things are actually, people's access to the internet does have a relationship with their healthy outcomes. Yeah. Somebody's social systems that they're in, education, et cetera. So the challenges of government, I think, is that oftentimes investments in areas like social services and education turn up as benefits within health. And how do you actually create an environment across ministries and government where by investing in A, you get benefit in B? Most governments aren't set up that way. Yeah. This is actually one of the reasons why I have a lot of respect for governments that do have a Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. Few governments actually have that. And it's a lot easier to do things to actually manage the whole pie in that sense, because that gets closer to 70, 80%, but still not 100.
Yeah. And isn't it also a problem that the government's finances are typically based on the yearly consumption?
Yeah.
And when you invest in future health, where the kind of results come after 20 years, that is not very fit for our present systems as well.
Financial officers, my previous life was in banking, by the way. Financial officers hate cost avoidance as a justification for a project. Yeah. And yet, prevention is fundamentally cost avoidance. So how do we create the economic models that actually justify the type of investments we have with the types of returns we expect to get, that to me that's the big challenge that really, frankly, I really want to tackle.
Yeah. All right, we are approaching the end of our slot, but let me kind of finally ask you both about the responsibility of individuals in this. First, what is the responsibility of individual for one's health, and can they be an active participant in solving the societal problem through their behaviors, also providing information from their health as data, and thereby kind of being active participants in our future innovations? Maija.
I suppose we all make our own choices as regards to how we eat or how much we move. I think that's our own individual choice. But of
Do we
course,
have too much freedom nowadays?
I don't think so. But we can also, of course, contribute ourselves with the data we create if we use different kinds of solutions, which will help us to improve the understanding of our own health and altogether probably the understanding of the health of all the people. I myself, I'm not so interested in using any solutions for following my own health, so this is not my core competence.
I guess
actually.
that you are fit,
So I'm just
fit enough for
I'm
yourself.
just eating healthy. That's
Okay.
the main, and sleep well.
Good. Erik.
I wish I would sleep well. Yeah, so I would say my bigger vision of this work that I do around digital health is having 8 billion people on the planet having access to their own personal health information, being guided by AI, but still under the watchful scrutiny of health professionals. That's where, if we had a vision of where we would be in 50 years, obviously we would have the same convenience with health as we do with banking, as we do in, frankly, every other industry.
Yeah.
And yet, so the question is, how do we get here from there? Yes, I do. I trust that people will, as a population, improve their health when they have access to information. Will every individual? No. But will the majority of individuals? Yes. And that is where I think we need to get. And at a fundamental level, if we do that, as we've projected, there's going to be a deficit of some 10 million health workers in the next decade globally. So why don't we activate 8 billion health professionals? And by giving them their own information to actually achieve and be a real participant in their own health team.
Yeah.
That, to me, is where we need to go.
Thank you so much, dear panelists. Thank you, audience, both here and following the stream. I hope this discussion has given you some kind of a spirit for future thinking and also innovation on your side. And I wish you all a very nice evening. Thank you.